This learning resource is brought to you by three partners: Youth Enterprise Development Fund, KCA University, and the University of Nottingham, under the co-production for youth entrepreneurship in Kenya, COPIOC project, supported by the British Council.
Welcome viewers, my name is Morris Ondiek from the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Today we are discussing about employee management in small business. You realize that as businesses grow, one cannot manage the business alone, and hence sometimes you may need to engage helping hands in the name of employees. There are challenges in that you may have to make decisions of how do you recruit, where do you do the recruitment, what is the cost of recruitment. Then the other considerations, other than salary, are there other obligations that the employer has to undertake in terms of the employee? Are there other considerations like NSSF, NHIF? Then there are issues of discipline and grievance resolution within the workplace. How also does an employer motivate workers to performance? And lastly, we shall look at how do we plan for separation with employees. When it comes to recruitment, the most convenient approach in filling vacancies by SMEs is the use of relatives and friends. They are easily available, it is convenient, it is less expensive, but this also has its advantages and disadvantages. One advantage you may find from relatives and friends is that of loyalty. Given that maybe it's your sibling, your friend, childhood friend, they may tend to be loyal to you. That is, if they are real. Another advantage you may have from them is perseverance. Someone who knows you may stick with you even at times when things are thick. But also, on the flip side, there are disadvantages of engaging friends and relatives. One, sometimes they may lack the technical capacity. Most organizations, SMEs, would really want the control of finances, either accountant or the finance manager, or the payroll to be in the hands of people they trust. And in most occasions, they engage family members, they engage friends, because they believe they need to have people they trust in such sensitive positions. But again, such people may not have the technical capacity to perform such tasks. And that may also affect the organization in the long run. Secondly, employing relatives and friends may also undermine some of them who may not appreciate their placement, may at times undermine the authority of other employees and managers. Simply because they have a relation with the boss, they may also tend to think they have the same authority or would request the same respect and honor or privileges and benefits to that, equal to that of the boss. And this may also affect the performance of other employees and their relationship with other employees. Sometimes, relatives and friends may also pretend to be loyal, only to do so when the employer is around. But in essence, they also have their own hidden agendas. And this dark cloud, this hidden curtain may in the end open up at a time when the business is very deep in challenges or finances, or when performance is not to its best. So how do we go about recruitment if we have to professionalize our enterprises as business people? We may look for employees through advertisements. And when we want to make an advertisement, based on location or the capability of the business, we may consider how spread is our advertisement to be. Geographical coverage is important, especially when looking at a particular catchment area. For example, when you are looking for a waiter in Nairobi, how far should you go? Should you go national? Should you look for employees within Nairobi? These are decisions the employer has to make, and also guided by the ability to undertake such an exercise. The advantage today is that we have options when it comes to adverts. You may make a poster, put it in a newspaper. That would be very costly. You may make an advert, post it online. Very minimal cost, but a very wide outreach. And then you may also seek referrals where your business is highly guarded and you prefer people who have been tested and have worked and who have experience that you can bank on for your business to succeed. In developing adverts, there are things you need to avoid as an employer. There's always the need to attract the best employees. There's always the urge to attract large number of applicants so that you can sift through and get the best. So there's a temptation in developing adverts that sometimes the employer may want to put in some false information just for the sake of attracting the best. Avoid that path. I know, and we have seen sometimes people writing, a leading manufacturer, a leading hotel in this town. May be true, but to some extent, sometimes it is not true because there are no facts to that. Let us avoid using that as a bait to attract big numbers or good employees. Because once they come and they find this is not what it is, they'll definitely leave your organization. Secondly, avoid putting adverts that are ambiguous. For example, I am looking for a driver. That's a good advert. But perhaps if I'm looking for truck drivers and I get only people who can drive small vehicles, this advert would not serve the purpose. So when you are putting an advert, be as clear as possible. For this case, you could say, we are looking for truck drivers with 3 years experience with this kind of background. Again, most people usually want to indicate remuneration. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I wouldn't say it's a good thing. It works for some, it doesn't work for some. But again, I know it helps to sieve through those who may not want to get to work within that kind of salary range. Again, here it needs to be very clear. It's, say, salary begins 20,000. Is it gross? Is it net? You need to clarify so that the people making applications also don't come with wild expectations. Then once we have done the advert, we now undertake the process of shortlisting. You may get many applications, but narrow down to the criteria of your poster, of your advertisement. Who exactly did you want? People with experience, 3 years experience, you shortlist. People with a certificate, a degree, or a diploma, you shortlist based on your requirements. Once you have done that, you conduct interviews. You can constitute a panel where you can chair or you can engage experts to do it for you and get you the best employees. Remember, all this depends on your ability and also your company policies. Once you have done that, engaging employees is now the next step. Small entrepreneurs, in most cases, engage employees by word of mouth. Come and work for me. How do you, then you have a discussion. How much is the salary and all that? We should engage employees through a formal way by having them come in, sign contracts that they have negotiated. When you are drawing an employee contract, an employment contract, you have to state very clearly if the job is permanent or temporary. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages. People would want job security, and Most people prefer permanent jobs, but it depends on your organization. If you are a startup and you may not have the funds, the resources to support a permanent employee, you may consider having temporary engagements or contracts. Once you have done that, in your negotiation or in your engagement contract, you should clearly indicate the salary and benefits that this employee is expected to get. This would avoid confrontations, conflict, as people work. If you engage people without formal contracts, at the end of the month, you say their salary is 20,000, but they earn 16. They start questioning what happened, because you did not enumerate the deductions. And perhaps you are doing the right thing, because the government tax has to be paid. Deductions, statutory deductions have to be remitted. But you did not inform the employee that these things are there. So that's why we say you should be able to do a formal contract so that the employee appreciates why the salary is what it is. Then, for these statutory deductions, it should be very clear. And as you can see in the schedule, for pay as you earn, we call it payee. This is with effect from January 2021, the government effected changes to the payee and introduced 3 tiers, where those people earning between a shilling and 24,000 are supposed to pay 10% pay as you earn tax. Then those earning 24,000 1 shilling to 32,333 are supposed to pay a 25% tax. And those earning above 32,333 are supposed to pay 30% tax. As we speak, the government is about to introduce an additional 35% tax for those earning more than 500,000. It is the obligation of the employer to do the deductions and remit on behalf of the employee to the government. There are other statutory deductions like NSSF and NHIF. NSSF, the employee is supposed to deduct 6% of his salary. It is remitted together with another 6% contribution by the employer. This is a saving that belongs to the employee. Upon retirement, you will be able to be paid back that money. For NHIF, there is a schedule that shows how each category of employment, ranging from those earning from 1 shilling to below 6,000, pay 150. Those earning from 6,000 to 7,900, pay 300. Those earning 8,000 to 11,900, pay 400. The table continues. If you could visit NHIF website, you will see each and every category enumerated, where if you pay employees this amount, this is what you are supposed to pay as an employer. Remember, we deduct that amount from the employee, and also the employer has to meet part of the same amount of the contribution. So it is important as an SME to know your obligations when it comes to payment of statutory deductions. These deductions have a deadline. Every 15th of every month, you should have submitted both tax, NHIF, and NSSF. Some require 9th, some require 15th. Employee motivation is also an important aspect of managing human resource in a small business. Employees are the engine. They perform for the organization. You may be out of the country as an employer. You may be away, but the company functions. You may be sick, but employees perform. How do we ensure that we get the best out of employees? Employee motivation is one key aspect that helps us to improve performance, to eliminate disputes, and also create synergy, teams that work at the workplace. So how do we motivate staff? How do we ensure that we have people who are happy working for us and ensure the business is performing? One is paying salaries on time. This is a challenge for small and micro entrepreneurs. We know that sometimes revenue doesn't come the way we had planned. It is always good to plan in advance, to know that after 30 days, we are supposed to pay salaries. And it is a priority as much as suppliers are also a priority. So planning your finances is important to ensure that employees are at peace. People who are paid well will not be tempted most of the time to steal from you. But if you expect employees to come to work and they have not received salaries for three months, they may look at how ways and means of forming another company within your company, which means they start generating irregular and illegal incomes within your enterprise. So the business will lose focus and you may end up losing at the end. Again, reward performers. Not everybody in an organization performs equal. We have people, outliers, who have exceptional performance. Those outstanding performers, the high flyers, you need to retain them by rewarding them. Otherwise, failure to do so, they can be poached by other organizations. They can leave because they may feel they are not being recognized. So it is important as an employer to always reward those who are doing well. Then build working teams. In an organization, different people have different capabilities. There are fast learners, there are those who have the energy to perform. You group them with those who are weak so that they tag along. The organization would move to some level, some appreciable average, using the synergies of the weak and the strong to push forward the agenda of that organization. Then have incentives to improve productivity. You can give targets to people. If they meet, you give rewards. You can give overtimes for those working extra time, and then you can also give bonus. Also undertake staff training to motivate. When you see weak staff, those who are weak in an area, or there's new technology or emerging developments in a particular trade, you can engage your staff through training to learn and be better performers. Then also cater for their social welfare needs like pensions and health insurance. If you engage in such, you will find that your employees will be happy working for you. They may earn the same salary with employees in another organization. An advert that comes, they may ask themselves, if we live here, we lose these benefits. And therefore, you may find you retain your employees for long by having taken care of their social welfare. Observing work and safety standards. At the workplace, ensure that you provide the employees with what is required, the tools and the safety gadgets, if they are there, safety garments, or any other requirements at the workplace that would make them work comfortably and feel safe. Then have a clear path for career growth and promotion. When you create employees positions, ensure that you also look at, if someone comes in, how does this person grow within your organization, so that there is motivation or is looking forward for a better day, that he can also work hard and become a boss within that organization. It would be sad if employees enter in a particular job group and they don't grow, they don't move upward. What remains for them is actually to move out of your organization. So even as you recruit and as you place your organization, have a motivation, a plan for promotion, a plan for growth, and a plan for advancement in career for your employees. Then lastly, how do we manage separation with staff? Labor disputes, and most labor disputes arise due to acrimonious separations. We know that in an organization there are disciplinary issues sometimes. People have issues coming late to work, not working, fighting. Have a policy that guides. In case of indiscipline or grievance, there are written down channels of settling the disputes or the grievance. This helps you to apply fairness across the board so that employees don't feel you are being unfair. A different case was handled differently from a particular case. That being the case, this document should also be communicated to the employees in advance so that they know the repercussions of actions. If you are doing this, these are the repercussions. If you are not able to do this, these are also the repercussions. So those should be able to be discussed with staff during induction and continuously being educated so that they know what is their role. Separation at the time of exit is one thing that should be handled with honor. Staff have offered their services to you, and the time has come maybe they would want to leave. Your policies will state very clearly. For example, if one is to leave, what should be the time and it should give notice? You know, it would also be unfair for an employee just to wake up and say, I'm leaving this work right now, and expect the employer also to pay him or to be happy with the service. We are supposed to plan the separation. And that is why the policy should guide, before either party separates, they should be able to give a notice of a particular period. A reasonable time is 1 month, so that the employer can also be able to get another employee on board, or the employee can also be able to plan his exit if he has to wind up in where he's staying and all that. So both sides should be able to respect this kind of agreement. And that's why in the beginning we said it is important to have a formal contract that spells out the terms and conditions of employment so that the separation is honorable and decent. As people separate, there is always a temptation by employers not to pay employees because, after all, this guy is leaving. The reputation of the organization is also at stake. So as entrepreneurs, we need to ensure that even if someone is leaving, we don't need to stay with his money, but we need to pay him so that he can also go and start life elsewhere. Remember, what goes round comes round. If people hear that we don't pay employees, it will be difficult to get good employees or to retain those employees who are there. And if there are any other employees who would want to exit your organization, they may use unorthodox means to recover their money and leave your organization in a bad taste. So it's good as an employer to ensure that you manage human resource in a very friendly and in professional way, so that you can be able to get the maximum from employees, and also at the same time you can be able to have your organization productivity grow from time to time. So in conclusion, I would say people work for the organizations which in turn should be able to take care of people. So people is a very important resource, and as SMEs, we should always know that those who work with us, those whom we employ, are as special as the raw materials we use to produce goods and services. If not better than the raw materials that we use, we should always look at them as the engine of our organization's success. Thank you very much.